Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. The California Educator Reporting System, or CERS, gives early access to statewide assessment data. And today's session is going to focus us on how you all can access your summative assessment data in CERS. This training is brought to you by the California Department of Education and is meant for all current and potential CERS users. We have another module coming up next week. So today we're covering Summative ELPAC, which stands for the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, the Summative Alternate ELPAC, and the California Spanish Assessment, or CSA. And next week we are going to dive into ELA, Math, and Science, also including the alternate assessments there. All right, let me introduce you to your wonderful CERS trainers who are going to take you through the rest of today. We have with us Teresa Blanchard from the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, Stephanie Fortunato, who's an educational consultant in instruction, assessment, and professional learning, and Alicia Sanborn from the Washington Unified School District, the one in Fresno. And I'm going to pass you over to them.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Our agenda today, we're going to access summative assessment results in CERS. We're going to locate some CERS resources, and last but not least, you're going to get answers to your questions. We have two modules, like Nikki mentioned, one right now and one next week. So today we're covering the ELPAC, the alternate ELPAC, and CSA. And next week, in our second module, will be for the Smarter Balanced ELA in Mathematics, California Science Test, otherwise known as the CAASPP, and the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs, for ELA, Math, and Science. Our design trainings are just a little bit shorter this year to help you amazing educators get the information you need in a timely manner. Join us next week for Module 2. We have comprehensive CERS learning now available on demand that you can access as you choose. We have Introduction to CERS, these recordings of live facilitated trainings, one series for teachers and one for coordinators and administrators. We also have fabulous micro-learning videos, and they are designed just like our live trainings. These trainings offer you the flexibility and the customization of micro-learning. Need to hit pause and go do? Well, you can with this crafted learning series. And then we have CERS Beyond the Basics. There are 3 modules. We have rostering and reports for our coordinators and administrators. We have custom groups and individual student reports. We have writing extended response scores and related resources. So amazing going beyond with us in these trainings. There is a link in your resource guide to the upcoming and on-demand trainings webpage. Houses all of those archived materials. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass you along to my colleague, Stephanie. Take it away.
All right, great. Well, hello, everyone. So glad to see you here today. We know that you probably want to take a look at what you learned today and explore your 25-26 results in CERS. So let's start off by talking about when those results are going to be available. Results from the 25-26 Summative ELPAC and the Summative Alternate ELPAC are expected to be available in CERS beginning in mid-May 2026. In fact, right as this meeting was starting, we found out they are going to be available for you to start looking at tomorrow. So we're so excited about that. The results for the CSA are expected to be available in early September of 2026. And you'll notice that the 2025-26 summative data loads into CERS much sooner than the public release of data on the test results for California Assessment's website, which happens in October. So we're so excited that you're going to be able to get in there and start looking at those results right away. Now, CERS houses detailed and actionable data to help educators reflect on what went well and what changes can be made for improving teaching and learning in the classroom for the new school year. So how exciting is this month going to be? Well, teachers and other educators really appreciate knowing how their students performed on summative assessments before going out for summer break. And many also use that time to plan for the following school year. So imagine all educators having the ability to start planning much earlier than ever. CERS will be the first place where that data will populate as it becomes available after scoring. Now, we do want to give a quick reminder to any administrators who are joining us today that teacher access to CERS requires both an appropriate role in the Test Operations Management System, or TOMS, as well as students being assigned to teachers through a process that's called rostering. Now, if you have any additional questions on that process, we do recommend the Managing Users and Student Group section of the Introduction to CERS microlearning videos, which is linked in your resource guide. And LEAs really are strongly encouraged to start using your local assessment data for planning as soon as the results are available. So starting tomorrow, we're so excited about that. All right, so let's go ahead and start our time together today with an overview of CERS. Now, as we jump into all of our training content, we do want to do a quick reminder that CERS is a one-stop shop for state assessment results that allows teachers and administrators to be able to access that detailed student performance information for summative CAASPP, or the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, and also ELPAC, as well as the interim assessment data. Now, CERS offers LEA staff, and that's at all levels. So our county folks who are here today, district, site, or classroom level, it offers the earliest access to the latest assessment data, as well as that historical data. Now, we know that current and prior year student test results, when it's combined with other student information, such as grades and classroom assignments and teacher observations and even more, can help to guide instruction and improve student learning. Now, we do also want to point out that CERS was created with educator input. So that includes California educators. And that input from the field is really instrumental in developing CERS to ensure that educators have the information that they need about their students' progress. And CERS continues to have enhancements and features that are added each year. So it's very exciting that we see those new enhancements. And so LEA staff feedback is welcome, and it can be sent to the CDE at any time. So we really do want to hear from you. Now, one benefit of CERS is that educators can view some of the student summative results prior to that public release of assessment data. And that allows them the ability to start analyzing student performance in a timely manner following the assessment. So for example, the public release of some summative assessments usually occurs in the fall. But as we just learned on an earlier slide here, that CERS allows educators to view those results starting in May and even in June, into June as well. Now, for all of those summative assessments, we will see the grade level that's assessed. We'll find the average scale score for the group. We'll see the number of students in the results, the student score distribution by overall achievement or performance level. We'll find individual student reports, or those ISRs, and also some additional detailed information. Now, for ELPAC, additional information is going to include that composite and domain level information. Now, as you may know from the Introduction to CERS trainings, there is an excellent training tool that's called the CERS Sandbox. And so for all of the system demonstrations and explorations, we will be using the CERS Sandbox. Now, the CERS Sandbox allows educators to get familiar with all of the features of CERS in a non-secure environment. The CERS Sandbox is a public website, so the URL can be shared with anyone that's interested in learning more about CERS. And the Sandbox has all of the same features and functions as the live CERS environment. But you will note that the CERS Sandbox uses fictitious data, and the interim assessment items that are found in the CERS Sandbox are publicly released sample items. So this really makes the Sandbox a great tool for individual exploration, and even group training, right? So there's no need to worry about keeping the items or the results data or student information secure when you're using the sandbox. So that's why we just absolutely love it so much. Now, we do also want to share a few quick differences between the CERS sandbox and the live CERS environment. First off is the purpose, right? The purpose of the CERS sandbox is for training on CERS features and functions and not for analyzing data like you would in the live CERS environment. So some of the assessment rules do not apply in the sandbox, like the alternate assessment for all rule. So for example, you may wind up seeing a student in the sandbox with results from an alternate assessment and then also from a general assessment. Next up, let's talk about security. The CERS sandbox, we mentioned, uses that fictitious data, and that differs from the real data that is found in the live CERS environment. Now, the interim assessment items in the CERS sandbox, again, those are those publicly released sample items. You'll note, though, that the sandbox does not have the test questions from the live and the secure interim assessments. And finally, let's talk about the access in the CERS sandbox. In the CERS sandbox, you'll note that a role is going to need to be chosen from the drop-down menu before entering into the CERS sandbox itself. Now, in the live CERS environment, users are not going to need to select a role. In the live CERS environment, users it uses the role or maybe even roles, it could be more than one, that have been assigned to users already in TOM. So choosing a role, though, sometimes can be really helpful, right, in the sandbox for users who maybe want to learn how CERS appears for different roles. So for example, an administrator may want to choose a teacher role and see what it is that the view looks like from the teacher view in CERS. What types of features are available for that role in the sandbox? Or it might even be helpful to be able to give a group training, right, from using that teacher view for your staff. So we just wanted to be able to highlight some of those differences. And with that, I'll go ahead, I'll pass it over to Teresa, and she'll walk us through taking a look at those summative ELPAC results in CERS.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Brawley. Again, I'm from the Office of the Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. It is my pleasure to help walk you through accessing summative ELPAC results in CERS. And we are so excited to kind of do our first live demo of our series. And that is going to be done in the CERS sandbox, as Stephanie had mentioned. So I'm going to actually exit the presentation and take you to our CAASPP-elpac.org website. Now, these steps that I'm going through are going to be in your resource guide that Nikki has dropped in the chat. But just so you know, if you are at the home page, you can click on that CERS button right at the top for California Educator Reporting System. I know many of us will be in and out of CERS this week as data continues to roll in. We have the CERS live environment here on the left side, but we are going to use, again, the sandbox today, which has fictitious data. I'm going to click on the CERS sandbox, and I will actually enter as a sample elementary school teacher because we are going to practice by looking up some of our summative ELPAC and our summative alternate ELPAC results. So we are going to select teacher, sample elementary school. I'm going to click on the button that says enter sandbox. Now it will take me to my sandbox homepage where I can look at my assigned groups. I have been in the sandbox rostered to my sample elementary school grade 1 group. And if I select my group name by clicking on the name, it will actually take me to some of my results, my CERS results page. Now I can take a look at some of the selected assessments that I have administered this year. Anything that shows up in this section has data attached to it or student results available. So I can actually click on this plus sign here to expand and see for first grade, we have actually the summative alternate ELPAC for grade 1. We have some results available. We also have the grade 1 summative ELPAC available. And the default, I actually tried to administer my interim assessment for ELPAC with the writing too. So I'm going to actually take that off by clicking it, it will deselect and remove those results from the results page that pops up right under this window. So I'm going to look first at the grade 1 summative ELPAC. So I have that highlighted in green by clicking on that. And I'm going to hit the X here to close and minimize that selection screen. Now, if you notice, the results page automatically will update as you select assessments. So we have the grade 1 summative ELPAC results showing here in our sandbox with 46 results showing, which means I had 46 students for grade 1 that have available assessment results here. Again, my fictitious class here is alphabetical by last name as a default. So this is the results by student view. And I can see at a glance, out of my 46 students that have results, it gives us the proficiency level breakdown from level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the percentage of students that scored in each of those overall levels. Now, the great thing is I can actually look by scrolling down. I can see my students and their individual scores at the overall level as well. If I wanted to filter, I can actually use the headings on the table of the results by student view to sort from lowest level to highest level. And if I double click, I can actually sort again by highest to lowest. And you can see how many at a glance. These are my reclassification candidates, right? Those that met level 4 on the summative ELPAC. I can get maybe connected if I'm not the ELPAC or EL coordinator at my site. I can go ahead and connect with them to make sure that we can check any local criteria for reclassification, maybe get that process started. So it's very exciting to have that option to be able to filter at a glance as scores are starting to come in this week. So we have grade 1 summative ELPAC, and we have the overall graph that's showing. We can also actually change the view and look at our composite scores. So for ELPAC, we have the oral language composite score and the written language composite score. So by clicking on the buttons up here, I'm actually changing the view that I get to dig into my composite scores. And as I do that, my results view for my results by student table will also change, and it will give me an opportunity to sort again by using the header column, the oral language level. I can again click, the first click will sort lowest to highest proficiency levels, and then another click will give me the highest to lowest scores. So I can take a look and group my students, maybe do some extra activities between now and the end of the year, or we can start doing some planning for next year with different instructional lessons that we want to support our students with. So I have my composite scores here, but I love also the domain button, which will give us access to our 4 domains that our ELPAC assessment does assess, with listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and each of those beautiful bar graphs that will show the percent of students that scored in each of those proficiency levels. We have the beginning to develop, somewhat to moderately developed, and let me filter it and see, well-developed category. You might also notice that we have some students that may be exempted or not tested in some of those domains. Those students may have IEP teams or 504 plans that have decided or that allow that student to have been exempted on some of these domains. So that will show up if you also filter and click on those filters at the top. And those will also show up in the score reports that we're going to dig into here in a moment for individual students. So we can sort and look by student. We can look overall by class. We can look by overall, composite level, or domain level by clicking the buttons at the top. And one thing I do want to note, that if you would rather, instead of looking at percent, you can also display the values as numbers, which I find, especially for smaller classes, can be very helpful to look at how many students, look at how many level 4 students we had that are possible reclassification candidates. So want to share that with you. We can also take a look, if I want to look at the students that were assigned the summative alternate ELPAC. I'm going to click on the summative ELPAC, which takes that one off of the list, and then minimize the selected assessments view. that automatically updates my results again. We have grade 1 summative alternate ELPAC, and just like the general summative ELPAC, we have this wonderful student score distribution graph that shows us right now. I selected number, but the default will be percent. And you can see the 3 levels that are on the summative alternate ELPAC: fluent English proficient, immediate English learner, novice, and novice English learner. And if I wanted to, again, I can sort by level from novice English learner all the way to fluent English learner, depending on the view that you would like. Again, for our alternate ELPAC assessment, the students that took this assessment, level 3 is the highest score that you can achieve. So these are my possible reclassification candidates that I can follow up with, or I can talk to my EL coordinators to follow up with possible reclassification after looking at our local criteria and data. So we have a lot of great information here. You can also sort by scale score or any other kind of column that you would like by clicking on the headers. We also do have in the assessment list when you're logged in, if your students took the California Spanish assessment, you should be able to see it listed. This year, starting in 24-25, we actually have the CSA results and the assessments listed by subject. So you'll see for grades 3 through 8, it'll say CSA 3-8. And for high school, it will say CSA high school. Now, the high school includes speaking domain and composite results, and the grades 3 through 8 does not include speaking. But you just know that you'll get a chance to select those assessments if they have results. They will populate again, not until later this fall. As Stephanie shared, those results won't be in right away, but those results will be in as soon as they become available in CERS. And once they populate, you will be able to pull similar reports. And we will add the CSAs to the sandbox at a later time once we get some of those speaking components for the high school updated and some of that fictitious data uploaded as well. So very exciting updates both in the live sandbox the live CERS environment and the sandbox that we're in for the ELPAC and the summative ELPAC. Now, we do have a way to download individual score reports. So while I'm looking at my student scores, let's say I want to generate the individual student reports and look at their scores. So I can look at maybe my summative ELPAC here, and I want to do some bulk printing. So I'm going to hit printable reports here at the top, and it automatically selects it assigns a name, and it will default to the current school year. So as scores come in, I'm going to hit summative as my assessment type. I'm going to select ELPAC or alternate ELPAC. And I'm going to leave it at student name for sort order. And I want to make sure I show students who tested elsewhere, especially after we, start coming back from the school year, because we can still access student scores even if they test somewhere else in a different LEA or site. Then I'm going to hit create report. This will automatically take me to my reports menu, and it will sometimes take a little bit of time to download or process. Once it changes from pending to complete, I have scores and score reports that I can look at. Now, as it's loading, I do want to note that the ISRs in CERS are different. Those are the individual student reports in CERS. They are different from the student score reports that you download in TOMS. Now, TOMS have SSRs that get sent, these score reports, the SSRs get sent to parents. That is a legal requirement. And these ISRs and CERS are designed more for educators with teacher input with all these beautiful graphs that I'm about to show you. So I'm going to go ahead, now that it's completed, I'm going to click on download report data, and it will automatically download. You see it go to my download folder. Now, this might look a little bit different for you, but I can actually click on that, and it will open up all of my students' individual student reports or ISRs and CERS, and I can scroll through and see, look, Silas has been working hard. Maybe he's been in the country for maybe 2 years, and he's at a level 2. I can look at, again, that composite score. I'm going to just zoom in here to see these beautiful color graphs, which also match in the composite score on the second page. And it also, the colors match with the domain scores that appear on that second page underneath the composite scores for ELPAC. You can see that the next student that starts, I just generated the ISRs for the summative ELPAC, but I can also do the same thing. I generated the alternate ELPAC, so I'd select summative and then alternate. And you'll see instead of 4 colors, we have 3 colors, with novice English learner being red, intermediate English learner being yellow, and fluent English proficient being blue, for again, the alternate ELPAC ISRs in CERS. These are just really great reports to see at a glance how close a student is from the next or previous proficiency level band. I really enjoy using these even with my students to do some goal setting perhaps. And I encourage teachers, to really look at these ISRs maybe in a conference setting, or you can share some of this information if you'd like with parents. But those student score reports and TOMS are going to be the ones that are designed for parents that will have all of the state assessment results available. So want to make sure that you have a chance to take a look at the sandbox as well and have some fun exploring. So we are going to access the CERS sandbox using the role that is closest to your own role. As I mentioned in our resource guide that Nikki dropped the link in the chat, you should be able to follow the steps that I walked you through to access the CERS sandbox. And you can do a few different things. I'm going to go back to the slide. We'd love to invite you to search for ELPAC results by composite and domain. You can use that oral composite or domain toggle that I displayed when we were searching for the ELPAC results for the summative ELPAC. You can search for summative alternate ELPAC results as well. The CSA results are not in there yet, but we will be adding CSA results to the CERS sandbox at a later date. We'll let you know when you can play with that data, especially if you don't have students who are currently taking that the California Spanish assessment. But we invite you to look at the summative alternate ELPAC or generate and download an individual student report. You can do that through that bulk custom, the printable reports. So we will give you a few minutes to explore the sandbox, and then we'll come back and share how we're going to be using that data. All right, I'm going to call everyone back from their windows and sandbox and CERS exploration. We are excited. We had some really great questions in the Q&A, but we're going to just quickly do some reflection around the data that we discovered and explored in CERS. So we do have a reflection question that we're going to ask you to think about. And we got a really great suggestion in the Q&A that I'm probably going to highlight. The question is, how might I use the data to inform instruction? Now, I know, like Consuelo in the Q&A, she said, maybe using the reports to show growth from previous years and having data chats with students, especially LTELs in the high school. It's so helpful to show students which area they may want to take a bit more time on, or maybe even what lessons and things that they can focus in on to do some goal setting and some instructional planning. So thank you, Consuelo. You kind of you must have known that we were going to do a reflection. What Q&As would we like to discuss as a whole group?
Yeah, you guys have been sending in a lot of great questions. Feel free to keep them coming. There are a few we're going to cover live. Okay, first, can we get a reminder or another mention of the exact date that these summative ELPAC and summative alternate ELPAC scores are going to start rolling into CERS and TOMS?
I know. I'll take that question. It's so exciting. We're all just as equally excited. So you're going to start to see that summative ELPAC data being released into CERS and also the TOMS student score file tomorrow. So May 14th, keep a lookout for it. I know. We're so excited. We're celebrating too.
Yeah. And I've had a couple people mention in the Q&A box, like you might actually be seeing the results in live CERS like now. A little bit early, but those TOMS files absolutely will start rolling tomorrow, and then student score reports the day after that. Very cool. Okay, our next question is CERS going to show me the results for all of my students? Like, what if I have really small numbers? Are they going to be like grayed out or starred out or anything like that?
Yeah, so CERS will show you the results for all of the students that you have access to. So just as a reminder that access to those results in the live CERS is based on your specific Tom's role. But there are no minimum sizes that are needed to see results. So regardless of your LEA size for ELPAC, you will see all summative results. And just a quick note also, for those target reports, we saw some questions about that. For those target reports in CAASPP, you won't receive data if the student group is less than 30 students. So I know that we often get that question, wait, I can't actually view the data. So if there are fewer than 30 students, you won't actually see those target reports for CAASPP.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Okay, let's talk about these individual student reports or ISRs that were shared. Are those only for teachers? Who can print those either individually or in bulk in CERS?
Yeah, so that great question. Those ISRs are really for anyone that who has access to CERS. They'll also have access to those ISRs. So definitely, if you have access to it, you've got access to those ISRs as well.
Excellent. And I know we're talking about access, so I'm just going to, again, throw in a quick plug that if you are a teacher level user, you will have access to CERS, but in order to see students, you need student groups that are rostered to you by an administrator level user.
Mhm.
And if you're an administrator level user and you're like, how do I do that? Check out the CERS microlearning videos or a past CERS training. There's lots of resources for you there.
Yeah.
Okay. What if, can I only really see the data by grade? And this is for administrator level users when we're doing that search by school and grade instead of as a teacher level user, like selecting a group. But what if we want to see results for the entire district?
Great question. When you actually are in there and you search by school and grade, then you're just limited to that one grade. But as an administrator, you can also run what we call those custom aggregate reports. And when you do that, you're able to get the data at the district level as well. So the first module of the CERS Beyond the Basics training, it covers these exact reports in more details. And so you'll find that recording on the upcoming and on-demand trainings webpage. And check out that link. It's in your resource guide for today, and it'll take you right there so you can check out exactly how you can view all that data. Great question.
Excellent. Two other quick things I'm going to cover that came in while we were doing Q&A. If you are looking for any of the steps, like the how did you do that? How do I do it? They are all listed in the resource guide. It's broken out by your role. Teachers do this, administrator level users do that, but the resource guide is a great place to start. And Alicia's going to cover some other resources for that piece as well. And with that, we can wrap up this party.
All right, now I get to close the party. So here we go. So we're going to transition into the amazing resources that are available to you. We've mentioned many of them so far, but we'll go into a little bit more detail. So like my colleagues have said, everything to get you to a resource is in that resource guide. It's like the how-to of all the things. Houses domain information sheets in the ELPAC resources section. These are also available in Spanish. So as we think about the wonderful use of how we can use these with families, family parent-teacher conferences, how we explore student school reports, and even as we consider ELAC meetings, domain information sheets are so powerful as an ELPAC resource. Another wonderful resource are the task type information sheets for the alternate ELPAC. And it explains how there are receptive, which is the listening and the reading, and then expressive, right? Our speaking and our writing task types. And those type information sheets, they share how each child taking the alternate ELPAC, it can meet their individual communication needs and how they need to both use their receptive and their expressive skills. These task information sheets also help teachers understand the expectations for students taking the alternate ELPAC, and then more specifically, how decisions are made for using the specific tools of an alternate placement. So California Department of Education has a wonderful decision-making tool that is used in making a decision for a student to be placed on an alternate ELPAC track. There's also the ELPAC information guide. It is updated annually and provides everything under the sun that we need. An overview of what the ELPAC is, information on special programs, gives additional information around reclassification and the criterion to reclassify. And within the ELPAC information guide, there's guidance for us on reporting and then how we can use those individual results for the ELPAC. So wonderful resources. Look at where my brain is, resources. All right, so next up are the CERS resources. The CERS resources webpage houses the following, and we found it today, the CERS sandbox, but also there's the CERS user guide that Teresa mentioned. I think of the CERS user guide like a YouTube overview video. It explains all of the features and the functions of CERS. And the CERS interpretive guide helps us interpret the assessment reports that we get in CERS. So it's almost like a dictionary for each element that lives in the system. And it includes everything we need to know about summative assessments and including the CSM. There is the Understanding the California Educator Reporting System video. We also have quick reference guides. Sometimes we call them QRGs in the world of acronyms of education. And those are those step-by-step how-to guides. It's a wonderful tool for teachers and staff to reference and how we can cover and view those test results, writing trait scores, and much more. Domain information. How do we access everything that Teresa modeled for you? Those quick reference guides, very quick steps. And guess what? They live in your resource guide that you all have access to right now.
Can I add a quick
plug?
Go ahead. We recently expanded our collection of CERS quick reference guides. And we went from like 4 or 5 to over like 12 or 15 now. It's so exciting.
Very exciting. And, you know, as an LEA coordinator myself, I use those. And sometimes I remember in the past having to create them on my own. So it is very, very special that we just continue to get better in service of our kids in California. So thank you, Nikki, for that. And last but certainly not least, we've talked about it a little bit because they are hot. The CERS micro-learning videos, and they were all just updated and refreshed. And again, these videos give us that flexibility to watch the entire series or to view specific topics. Hit that pause, wait, and just very focused where we're wanting to be as an adult learner or where we might need support, whether it's helping our district move forward in student achievement or even just as a coordinator ourselves or a teacher and give us ideas of how we can be better for our children. All right. We also have as a resource the ELPAC, the results are in Now What Moodle course. There are 14 modules in this series, and these modules focus on how educators can improve teaching and learning for our multilingual learners. Example modules include in-depth views for specific task types like speaking, retell, and narrative to learn more. And even a module that covers how to connect and analyze results from ELPI and ELPAC in order to plan designated and even integrated ELD supports. I did see in the Q&A, you know, how can we look at comparison data as we think and project our ELPI? So please go check out that module to help in your work as a district. And the modules are built for all levels for educators and all of those levels. A resource guide has linked to course and additional information about each module. So we do want to quickly share here that there is a new CERS Essential Training Series coming up. This new free of cost training series has 8 quick 1-hour topic-focused webinars, live demos like you saw today, time to explore, and opportunities to have your CERS questions answered in real time like you saw today. Educators can choose from quick topic-specific trainings that are the most relevant to your role, your experience, and your current needs. The sessions are offered once each during the school year. The first one will happen in August of 2026, and the last one will be planned for May 2027. And we encourage teachers, administrators, support staff to attend together as a team to develop that shared understanding of how we can use the assessment data. The training will support all CERS users at all levels. Doesn't matter if you're an introductory CERS user or an advanced CERS user, and building understanding and confidence in using CERS. Registration is open for the 2026-2027, wow, that's hard to say, CERS Essentials Training Series. All right, so last but not least, we want to thank you for joining us. And thank you on behalf of the California Department of Education, the Sacramento County Office of Education, and your training team today. We thank you for joining today's training.